Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted. With me are my esteemed colleagues,
Nate,
Brian,
Dave.
and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, The Monk.
the funky monk.
You know,
So does the monk go around solving crimes? He's low CD.
no. This is the martial unarmed warrior.
Okay, more like a Bruce Lee type then.
Absolutely.
Right. Sweet.
So there's some definite step down in power in relation to the 3rd edition monk, but there's some definite interesting things to play around with. So what do you guys think?
Well, now we've had friends of ours that we game with kind of cry and complain about the monk a little bit, saying they felt that the monk really kind of got screwed because they do a die 4. But they get a die 4 and they get 2 attacks around if they use their bonus action.
Right.
And their bonus action, unlike other people's bonus actions, they actually get their modifier to the damage.
Now that D4 is only for the first handful of levels for their unarmed attack.
All right, first
Now,
floor.
if you decide you want to go and carry any of the monk weapons, you could carry a club, a staff,
A short sword.
a short sword, a spear.
They've got a lot of weapons.
You're
to choose
doing
from.
you're doing a D6, and as a secondary fighting class, which I'm sorry, the monk is. It's a D8 hit die. It's not a D10.
Right.
You're a secondary fighting class. Having a D6 as your primary attack damage is not terrible, and you can build up, to that later thing. We just did the meat grinder today for Brigade Con, and after reading this, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play a monk. I put the other 2 characters I made aside, and I played a monk, and I had a great time with it. It was seventh level, so I went straight to that D6 unarmed. And, did you guys feel that I was, lesser in power?
Well, let's start off. Okay, so you used the monk during the meat grinder.
Right.
How many character deaths were there during the meat grinder?
8?
Most of them, to be fair, were from Sphere of Annihilations. So
and terrible traps.
And horrible traps to
So-
slay you.
So was there 8 deaths? That many?
Well, Juice died at least 3 times.
They're pretty comical.
The other guy died.
Philip
Posey died at least 2 or 3 times.
And I died at the end.
You died at the end, and then there was 1 or 2 other guys that were there in the beginning that they came in, they were there for the first hour and died, and then they were out.
Oh yeah.
So
I forgot about Robert Erger and
the first death really was like comedically timed
because he had to go anyway.
because he had
When you gotta go, you gotta go. It was his time.
and I feel that I was keeping up with any of the fighting classes.
Oh, I asked for a specific reason though.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so how much damage did you take?
None.
How much damage did you almost take?
I think 2.
But your monk ability to deflect missile
I
weapons
deflected the 1 missile weapon and
from a friendly.
and I stayed out of reach of most of the stuff with the monk abilities. I felt
So more versatile fighter.
absolutely.
Even though it's a secondary, considered a secondary fighter with that.
You were also able to use other things too, like climbing in combat and
right. I
and,
mean,
and step of the wind and stuff like that.
with Step of the Wind, I use my Kai point to be able to just jump over a chasm that could have easily allowed me to just fall to my death, and
As if you were a rust monster Hydra.
the DM didn't even make me roll. It was a 25-foot gap, and it's like, yeah, you're trained in athletics. This automatically doubles your jump distance, and you're going to use a running jump. Yeah, you just have it. And it was one Kai point. No big deal. I had 7 of them. And I used Step of the Wind twice, and I used Stunning Fist once, or Stunning Strike, I think it's called. So I didn't use a ton of Kai points because I was already 5th level. I was already doing 3 attacks around. I had a 40 movement rate, so I could get across the terrain pretty quickly, even if it was hazardous or climbing or whatnot. So I think,
So what they lack in raw firepower, they make up for in utility.
Absolutely.
And being able to hold their own, really. So.
And survivability with dealing with situations that aren't just stand in front of this guy and take a beating.
I found the one thing I found a little odd is their saving throws.
Yeah,
Okay.
strength and dex. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, like Dex makes sense. I get that one. I thought the other one would be Wisdom.
I thought so as well. That seems to be their high priority. I'd love to know why the authors went in that direction.
Well, I can understand why they didn't do Wisdom, maybe, but then
I could see Constitution being a strong contender. Wisdom or Constitution, just because like very meditative, being able to endure things,
I think it's probably more of the martial concept of proper use of the body mechanics. So they could be going from that martial arts standpoint of, you can be a little guy and still flip somebody.
Or maybe they're going with, but like mechanically, I'm thinking, well, Wisdom's an important stat for you, so you're probably going to bump that. And then,
so try to make them not too good, because that would just be like imbalancing.
Well, no, maybe they're spreading it out. They're going, okay, well, what's a dump stat? Well, strength might be a dump stat.
Right.
Because if you've already got a high dex because you want your armor class and you're going to have proficiency in your dex save, that's going to make your dex save really good. If you're going to have your high wisdom for your Kai powers and your also your armor class as well as some skills, that's going to work well for your wisdom save. But if you're already going high dex, you have no need for a strength. There's not a reason. For any monk weapons, you can use your dex mod as your attack and damage.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, so it's A, trying to mitigate something that could be a weak point for you, but also B, like, not giving a double helping of awesome for, like, because wisdom's going to contribute to your casting and your armor class. And,
but if you get the 14th level, it doesn't matter because you're proficient in all your saves.
Well, yeah,
there is
that's true.
That is that.
So they get simple weapons, short swords, no armor. They get to choose a artisan's tools or a musical instrument, and they get 2 skills.
Right. Fairly common.
Yeah, all of them are appropriate for a monk: acrobatics, athletics,
actually,
history, insight.
For a role playing standpoint, I like the fact that you can pick any artisan tool or an instrument. You get to really choose as what's your hobby. What's something that you actually
the Kwai Chang, man, you got to have the flute.
All right.
The bamboo flute.
Yeah.
My dwarven monk actually had a flute.
And I'm sure a double as a club. If need be.
In a pinch, anything's a club.
Once you break it down and get into their different ways, that's where things start to in my opinion get a little bit more diverse, but at the same time a little sketchy.
Well, I mean, even just the
the
baseline,
archetypes, huh?
the baseline monk of like just like the things that every monk gets, like the access to flurry of blows for the umpteen attacks, the patient defense, where as a bonus action you can get access to dodge, or step of the wind, where you can get access to dash or disengage as a bonus action. You basically can do a little bit of what every other class can do. Like the rogue can do any of those 3 actions as a bonus action.
Right.
And here the monk gets it when they start expending the resources of their their Kai
and
points.
the fact that the Kai points do come back after a short rest
is awesome.
At second level you only have 2, so you're gonna bleed through them pretty quickly. But we had a 4-hour game. I used 3 points.
Yeah, and you're being conservative about it because you're like, I don't know when the rest of the party.
They were deadly encounters.
Yeah, I didn't know when things were going to come. So yes, I could have kept pouring them into extra attacks just to get that extra D6 on there, but I didn't feel that anything was in my face absolutely necessary that I had to get that 4th attack. 3 was enough. I was holding my own for damage.
Well, you just said something that's kind of important. They can get up to 4 attacks, right? There's only one other class in the game that does that. Fighter.
Well, and by level, because the monk's doing it at 5th level. When's the fighter get to that 4th attack?
Oh, it's hot. It's up there, 17th, 18th, I think.
So yeah, their die is lower, but they're swinging more.
They have the ability to get more attacks.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that's at 5th level. You can do that 5 times, whereas the fighter is going to be doing it far more often.
But that being said, they get 3. They can do 3 attacks every round, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they have to use a bonus action to get one of them, which anybody else can do. But what they get that other people don't is they get their modifier on the die.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while a fighter has those attacks, they don't have at 10th level immunity to poison and disease. I mean, no, it doesn't. It's not like, oh, I've been poisoned, I'll use some key points to be okay.
It's
No,
just
I'm just immune to it.
It just
Disease?
doesn't bother me.
Yeah, but at 7th level, they're like, oh, I'm charmed or frightened. No, I'm not.
Yeah, but wait, you have to use an action to end that effect.
I mean, you have to stop and think about it. You have to.
Am I really charmed or afraid?
Come
no,
on.
I'm not.
Are you really my friend, or are you an evil jerk?
So
Come on, Dragon. What's my motivation here?
So,
I'm not believing it.
at first look through, yeah, it's like they do seem to be, at first glance, I really looked at it as like, well, they do feel a little underpowered because you're so trained from 3rd edition to look at that. Man, I got this D20 at 20th level, and that's all I'm going to need. This is my damage die. This is everything I need. And now it caps at a D10. So you initially look at that, well, it's halved automatically, and that puts you in a certain mindset. But when you look at everything that this monk has the ability to do, yes, they are not, a super combat engine, but they are so diverse in what they can do, and resistances, immunities.
They can not only can they can do the snatch arrows thing or the deflect arrows. They can grab whatever it is and hurl it back with proficiency, as if it were a monk weapon.
So when that guy critically fumbled and was going to put a throwing axe in my back, if I really wanted to, as my reaction where I caught it, I could have just hurled it back straight at him, possibly doing more damage than he could have.
Right. Yeah. So that's a thing to consider.
So and just that deflect arrows, it can do so much for you. So I was quite happy. But as I was saying,
you could have thrown it back at him or at anyone you wanted.
True.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Cool.
Well, it's an important distinction. I mean, you could have turned his miss into a hit.
Yeah.
by him critically missing. Now you should have did it because it would have been freaking cool.
Yeah.
So what'd you have to do with it? Pocket again?
Yeah, I just put it in my sash.
He put it in his belt.
I misread it. I didn't think that I could turn it against, our enemy.
Yeah, no, it doesn't specify who you have to target.
Dude, you caught a missile weapon out of the air. You can throw that whoever you
While
want.
I was climbing.
While you were climbing. I think you could just throw that wherever you want.
But getting into the different archetypes, the different ways. You've got Way of the Open Hand, Way of the Shadow, and Way of the Four Elements. Now, reading through, if you go Way of the Open Hand, that's your typical martial artist monk, and that's the way I went. I'm like, there's no way I'm not going this direction.
It's the classic.
Yeah. You get the
This is
ability
the kung fu theater sort of.
You get the ability to heal yourself. You get quivering palm, which you can hit somebody, and up to a number of days equal to your monk level, you can have them just sitting there hovering on death's door with them none the wiser. And at any point in time, you can just be like, "Yep, make a save." And if they fail, they're at 0. If they pass, 10d10 damage.
Yeah.
Necrotic damage.
Yeah, 10d10 necrotic damage. Utterly crazy.
Well, I like that 18th level ability. 4 Kai points, go invisible, and you're immune to all but force damage. Or no, you have resistance. I'm sorry.
Is that a basic ability?
That's a basic. All monks get that.
Beginning at 18th level, you can use your action to spend 4 Kai points to become invisible for a minute. During that time, you also have resistance to all damage but force. You can spend 8 Kai points to cast the astral projection spell without needing material components. When you do so, you can't take any other creatures with you. Whoopee! Here, I'm going to actually project myself somewhere else. Your force of will on the universe.
Yeah, I mean there is the one downshot of the Way of the Open Hand.
What's that?
The bad dubbing, like you have to speak off sequence to the way your lips are moving. Like that's it's in the fine print here.
Oh, I must have missed that because I didn't play that. Hopefully the
GM's not going to penalize you.
Thematically, I really like the Spellcaster Monk.
The way of the four elements.
Yeah, you know, it definitely
The
has that.
way of the last Airbender. I believe,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. But not, the Last Airbender, but also Street Fighter and, and a lot of other tropes.
Yeah,
really
you can
do
make
that.
Dalzim, Guile, like whoever.
It's in there.
You know, with that stuff, it's very interesting, very thematic. It's something that I would like to play, but given like the really great effects that they have in that one, I wonder how quickly you're gonna use your Kai points when you go through that, because some of them it's like, oh, this costs 5 points, this costs 6 points, and okay, your 14th level you have 4 of them, or sorry, your 14th level you have 4. You can do that ability 2 times before you have to rest, and you don't have much else that you can do besides.
But the important factor being a short rest, you get your points back.
Absolutely. So I would have to see how that type would function in a long-standing game. And it's really going to depend upon how often your party does a short rest. It's possible that you do a short rest after every encounter.
That must make sense. You have a sturdy fight. You might as well.
Yeah.
Like I would actually be more in favor of blowing through my high points early and often, because that's going to expend less resources as far as healing later on, and then this and that, and it's rechargeable.
In real combat, if you've watched some of our earlier videos, I actually do.
We hit Ted with things. It's really what happens in real combat. We just beat Ted with stuff.
I actually I do longsword training with a group, and we do live steel armored combat to learn how to properly fight. And believe me, in just a minute and a half fighting, you get winded really quickly. I'm just a beginner. I've only been doing it for about 7-8 years, and I'm not doing it every day, so I'm not some monster warrior that knows what he's doing. So it would make sense, if your DM was cool with it, to be able to do a short rest after every encounter, or every challenging encounter that you felt necessary to do that.
Well, even you think about a professional full contact fight is, 12 3-minute rounds, and it's absolutely grueling.
Yeah, that's, I'm in nowhere near a condition to even consider doing that. 12 3-minute rounds with a minute or two in between each. Forget that. I'm done. I'm done before 4th round is over. Good night. I'm just gonna take a nap. You win.
Take a nap and get that short rest to get your high points back. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Put your feet up. Drink a soda.
But I love the abilities that the 4 elements gets. You get access to so many spells as abilities, and spell like things,
and they've got great flavor names.
And it just looks like it's a lot of fun. I just wonder what the Kai point management is going to be for that. And then of course let's not leave Way of Shadow in the dark.
In the shadows, yeah.
Well,
in the dark.
I was just looking over that, and really the cool thing about the Way of the Shadows is
ninja. You're a ninja.
You're a ninja,
Yeah.
but at every level except for 3rd, your stuff is free. There's no Kai point cost.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, with 3rd level, you get a handful of spells you can cast. They cost 2 points each, which you'll burn through those pretty quick.
But it's stuff like Pass Without Trace, Silence, Darkness.
And you get a cantrip that you can do it well. Minor Illusion, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, at 6, Shadow Step at 6th level is...
Teleport 60 feet.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Oh, and if you attack before the end of... you have advantage if you make an attack before your end of your turn.
So you've got very cool ninja assassin-y type abilities, and if you want to flavor it properly, which is one of the cool things about the monk, is like we're not going to go into this long laundry list of monk weapons. You want to use nunchucks? It's called a club, and it just happens to be on chains. And you look cool. You want to use a kama? It's just a sickle, and it's just shaped differently. go have fun with whatever you want to do.
Label it whatever you like.
Go
So,
for bad
it
stuff.
does
know,
less damage.
Your short sword is your really, your assassin's wakasashi type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
thinking for the Way of the Shadow, you take your first 3 levels in Rogue, Assassin,
Oh man.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
because their last ability is at 17th level.
It's probably really made to stack like with it.
Yeah, I mean, you lose a couple things, but there are things that I think I wouldn't mind giving up. For the sneak and thematically going with the ninja, and the assassinate ability itself is pretty freaking good.
ninja heat. Yeah.
So you'd lose your ability to become invisible.
But you kind of get that as
Yeah,
a
right, as the shadowy guy.
the Cloak of Shadows.
Right.
You kind of get it anyway, except for it doesn't cost anything. You kind of do it at will. You just can't do it where it's bright light.
Right.
You need ninja bombs.
Or you can just use 2 Kai points in darkness. There you go. Bam.
That's a ninja bomb, dude.
Oh, ninja bomb.
Ninja bomb.
The wizardy ninja bomb. Okay.
Yeah.
So, to the friend out there who said, I don't like them getting a D4. Sorry, man. I think there is more than enough here.
Don't punch
So-
people. Use a stick.
Well, I mean, even still, all right, I'm gonna use a key point and punch you 3 times.
Yeah, and here's another thing, dude. What about your stout halfling monk?
Mm.
He does a D4 too. He also does a D10 when he gets high enough level.
Yeah, that's true too. And then getting the bump to Dex, you could use your whatever as a finesse weapon. Like
So,
basically, you always
I
use
played
that.
I played a hill dwarf monk. Wood elf would also make a good monk because they get dex and wisdom.
No, it
Right.
doesn't make a good monk.
Mountain dwarf.
Dragonborn.
Does not make a good one.
My 13-year-old son wanted to be a Dragonborn monk because he thought it was a cool idea.
It's a cool concept, but unfortunately,
execution.
strength and charisma don't really work well for the monk.
No, because they're
So-
almost like your dump stats.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, if you wanted to do, hey, let's do the point buy system. Do 15, 15, 15, 8, 8, 8. You put your 8s in strength, intelligence, and charisma. You wind up getting 10, 8, 9. And you have 15s in
The stuff that matters.
condex and wisdom. You can still do it.
There you go.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Dragonborn.
At 4th level,
Awesome
you
monk.
take Tavern Brawler so you can grapple.
Nice.
So you can bear hug people and then breathe on them.
So
That's a good
And then you take the elemental monk path. So there you go.
yeah, you could
Very
The
thematic.
way of whatever your breath weapon is.
Yeah.
So you've got the ability to really play with it. So, realistically, any race could do monk. It's just obviously some are going to be better at it than others. So
Dex and wisdom
dex and wisdom is what you need.
to succeed.
Well, and then you're a melee fighter, so you kind of need con too. So,
Well, yeah,
in
you
that
wanna stay
sense,
alive.
Wait a second. You're playing this game. You need constitution.
Yeah, you basically you
I'm
need
sorry.
con for every single.
I'm
class.
sorry. In all the games I've played, Raceland would never survive.
Yeah.
Wait a second. You're willingly playing a character with a negative con modifier? No.
But here's the thing, right? If you're an archer character or you're a spell slinger in the back, it's more feasible to not have a con
More
bonus.
survivable. Yeah.
But if you're punching things in the face, punching you in the face, punching you,
Yeah.
you need to be able to take a hit because you're going to eventually get hit back.
That's true.
I mean, you can stand behind the meat walls and avoid being attacked.
Is there some kind of thrown weapon that the monk could use?
Darts.
Yeah, darts are a simple weapon. You
Yeah.
use shurikens.
Shuriken.
Yeah,
Could just sub in for darts.
the monk
What's that,
the
like a
monk
D4,
package comes
D3?
with the monk package comes with 10 darts.
And they count as your
Your
weapons.
monk
Yeah.
weapons. Yeah,
You
so
could be
they-
a ranged monk.
You could do a die 10 eventually with darts.
or you could always be well, do you transfer the damage die too for the monk damage die?
Yes, you do.
Huh, well that's sweet. But the other thing you could do is just you always reserve your bonus action to take the what is the disengage maneuver, so then you could always hit.
Cost a Kai point.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you always basically you move in, hit, and then of the cost of their high
I think
point,
a
you go
ranged
hide.
monk would be pretty good.
You go hide behind the fighter.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
light crossbow, dart, short bow, and sling.
Yeah, you
are
could be
all simple weapons.
So you could.
So you could be
The
a
Zen
ranged-
archer or monk that actually can't use a bow.
Yeah. Well, that's sad.
What? Short bow, right?
short bow.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
simple
short bow
weapon.
is a simple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you could do the Zen archery.
Yeah.
Just
So
only from
And that's also
a
what?
few feet away.
Is that D6, D8?
well, short bow starts at a D6. Light crossbow is a D8.
From how far away?
Short bow is 8320.
That's enough, man. That's far enough for me.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable. Especially as you start getting a monk bonus
Well,
movement.
and then you take the feat that lets you attack from the maximum range without disadvantage.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sharpshooter, and
Sharpshooter.
also add plus. You can add a plus 10 to your damage.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you could make.
Well, and then you flurry of blows. So if, I missed.
Can
Well, these other hits.
guys,
Yeah.
let me explain to you why I hate doing these videos. Every time I do a class or a race, I want to make one.
And then there's not enough games.
There's not enough
There's not enough
And
games.
listen, right? Human monk, first level, sharpshooter.
Yeah.
There you go. Rock it out.
Yeah. There.
And then you can put your pluses wherever you want for your monk.
Wherever you want, Dex and Wisdom. Wherever you want.
Oh, yeah, for a sharpshooter, Dex and Wisdom, yeah.
But that's hilarious. Like I said, I hate doing these videos, guys.
So obviously, like if you make a character, with a a race that has a prime, at least one prime stat, and you're using either the point buy or the basic stat array, you're going to end up with at least 116. So unarmored, you're looking at a 15 armor class. That's not bad for just starting off, because you get your dex and your wisdom mod to AC. So
Honestly, I want to do the Dart Monk too, though. I want to flip all over the place and be like, boom, die 10 with like a little metal stick. Only because it's ridiculous.
Actually, I have always wanted to do like the sort of shuriken chucker character.
Yeah.
And this there was such a high feat tax to be able to do it, because like you were gonna pay through the nose when you're doing like hurled weapons versus like the bow. The bow was the only weapon you could do like multi attacks, because it was just everything was structured
because of rate of
enough.
fire.
Yeah. Like, so everything was structured for you to be able to use a bow awesomely, and then you kind of sucked doing anything else.
See, because you could still, with throwing stuff, you could still go the sharpshooter route.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Because just to get the added range, absolutely.
It gives you all that other good stuff in addition to getting an additional range.
Yeah, so.
After sitting here, doing it, as of a couple of days ago, you were, kind of unsure or against the monk. What do you think now, Dave?
I think the monk could be a lot. Oh, the dart does a lot more than I thought too.
Was it D4?
Yeah, and the range isn't bad.
30 feet? What is it?
20-60 with the sharpshooter from 60 feet
away?
away.
Yeah, that's nice.
I want to do it just because it's ridiculous. This is going on. This will happen.
Dude, and name him, tell him tour, or what's, because that's a magic thing.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one that was in Baldur's Gate? Like the guy that, remember the early encounters? They laughed at my darts. Once. Yeah.
I do remember that,
Yeah.
but I don't remember the name.
Yeah, it was something.
All right, so what about you? Are you on board with the monk?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to make ridiculous builds.
Yeah, right. I
How
think
about
it's
you,
the place to
Nate?
do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the monk without any of the ways is decent with their powers and their abilities and their attacks and damage, so.
You guys know my opinion. Put your comments down below. Let us know what you think. Are we right? Are we wrong? Is there something that we missed that is blaringly a problem? I'm all for it.
And while you're commenting, like, subscribe, and share.
You could do that.
And you can check us out on Nerdarchy subreddit, How to Stay Nerdy.
Or find us at nerdarchy.com.
All your social media belong to us. Well,
Until
next
next
time
my
let's
friends.
flip on out and
Stay nerdy.
Oh, I asked for a specific reason now.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so how much damage did you take?
None.
How much damage did you almost take?
I think 2.
But your monk ability to deflect missile
I
weapons
deflected the one missile weapon and
from a friendly.
and I stayed out of reach of most of the stuff with the monk abilities. I felt
So more versatile fighter.
absolutely.
Even though it's a secondary, considered a secondary fighter with that.
You were also able to use other things too, like climbing in combat and
Right,
and
with
step of the wind and stuff like that.
with Step of the Wind, I use my Kai point to be able to just jump over a chasm that could have easily allowed me to just fall to my death, and
As if you were a rust monster Hydra.
the DM didn't even make me roll. It was a 25-foot gap, and it's like, yeah, you're trained in athletics. This automatically doubles your jump distance, and you're going to use a running jump. Yeah, you just have it. And it was one Kai point. No big deal. I had 7 of them. And I used Step of the Wind twice, and I used Stunning Fist once, or Stunning Strike, I think it's called. So I didn't use a ton of Kai points because I was already 5th level. I was already doing 3 attacks around. I had a 40 movement rate, so I could get across the terrain pretty quickly, even if it was hazardous or climbing or whatnot. So I think,
So what they lack in raw firepower, they make up for in utility.
Absolutely.
Being able to hold their own, really. So.
And survivability with dealing with situations that aren't just stand in front of this guy and take a beating.
I found the one thing I found a little odd is their saving throws.
yeah,
Okay.
Strength and Dex. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, like Dex makes sense. I get that one. I thought the other one would be Wisdom.
I thought so as well. That seems to be their hype. I was lesser in power.
Well,
than,
let's start off. Okay, so you used the monk during the meat grinder.
right.
How many character deaths were there during the meat grinder?
8.
Most of them, to be fair, were from Sphere of Annihilations. So.
And terrible traps.
And horrible traps to
So-
slay you.
So was there 8 deaths? That many?
Well, Juice died at least 3 times.
They're pretty comical.
The other guy died.
Philip Posey.
Philip Posey died at least 2 or 3 times.
And I died at the end.
You died at the end, and then there was 1 or 2 other guys that were there in the beginning that they came in, they were there for the first hour and died, and then they were out.
Oh yeah.
So
I forgot about Robert Erger and.
The first death really was like comedically timed
Because he had to go anyway.
because he had
When you gotta go, you gotta go. It was his time. Really.
and I feel that I was keeping up with any of the fighting classes. Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted. With me are my esteemed colleagues,
Nate.
Brian.
Dave.
and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, The Monk.
The funky monk.
So does the monk go around solving crimes? He's low CD.
No. This is the martial unarmed warrior.
Okay, more like a Bruce Lee type then.
Absolutely.
Right. Sweet.
So there's some definite step down in power in relation to the 3rd edition monk, but there's some definite interesting things to play around with. So what do you guys think?
Well, now we've had friends of ours that we game with kind of cry and complain about the monk a little bit, saying they felt that the monk really kind of got screwed because they do a die 4. But they get a die 4 and they get 2 attacks around if they use their bonus action.
Right.
And their bonus action, unlike other people's bonus actions, they actually get their modifier to the damage.
Now that D4 is only for the first handful of levels for their unarmed attack.
All right, first
Now,
4.
if you decide you want to go and carry any of the monk weapons, you could carry a club, a staff,
A short sword.
a short sword, a spear.
They've got a lot of weapons.
You're
to choose from.
you're doing a D6, and as a secondary fighting class, which I'm sorry, the monk is. It's a D8 hit die. It's not a D10.
Right.
You're a secondary fighting class. Having a D6 as your primary attack damage is not terrible, and you can build up, to that later thing. We just did the meat grinder today for Brigade Con, and after reading this, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna play a monk. I put the other two characters I made aside, and I played a monk, and I had a great time with it. It was seventh level, so I went straight to that D6 unarmed, and did you guys feel that